For 7 long years, the Zalari Empire had known only one wound that never healed: the loss of their only princess, Kalith Voronai. She was the daughter of Queen Sarathia, ruler of 1,000 worlds and commander of fleets that could eclipse stars. Her name had been sung in every temple, her memory carved into crystal monuments. The queen had searched the galaxy for her daughter. Explorers vanished beyond the Veil Rift, an unstable hole in space that ate ships and hope alike. After years of trying, the queen accepted that even the strongest light could be swallowed by the dark. Then one day, the dark answered back. It began as a whisper among the watchtowers that guarded the Veil Rift. Alarms sounded as sensors flickered, and the void itself began to twist like a breathing lung. For the first time in 7 years, the rift pulsed with blue light. Calm, steady, unnatural. Inside the palace, the queen rose from her throne when the call came through. Her heart, so used to grief, dared not hope again. "Your Majesty," the commander said through the hololink, "something is coming out of the rift." The queen stood frozen, her silver eyes sharp. "A ship?" "Yes, my queen, a small craft. Badly damaged, but it's alive." The queen's hand trembled. The first time anyone had seen such weakness from her in decades. "Alive?" she whispered. The broadcast cut to a visual feed, a small, battered shuttle spinning out of the rift. Its hull was scarred, half melted. Every logical thought said it should have been torn apart long ago. But it wasn't. "Bring it in," the queen ordered. "Now." The shuttle was carried to the royal docks by magnetic stabilizers. A crowd of soldiers, healers, and scientists waited. The air smelled of hot metal and disbelief. When the ramp finally hissed open, everyone took a step back. Smoke rolled out, and through it came 2 figures, one tall and graceful, the other broad-shouldered and human. The tall one stumbled first. Her armor, once bright with royal markings, was cracked and blackened. Her skin was pale, her hair tangled, but her eyes, those glowing amber eyes, were unmistakable. The guards dropped to their knees at once. "Princess Kalith?" one of them whispered. The queen, who had rushed to the dock herself, froze in place. The entire hall went silent. The world itself seemed to hold its breath. Then Kalith looked up, her voice hoarse but steady. "Mother," she said, "I came home." The queen took one shaking step forward. The daughter she had lost stood there, scarred but alive. Tears that had never been allowed to fall burned down her face. She reached out, and Kalith stepped into her arms. For the first time in years, the queen's heart beat like it used to. But before she could ask how her daughter had survived, her eyes caught the figure behind her. He stood silent, covered in soot and dust, his clothes torn from wear. A human, and unmistakably so. His hair was dark and short, his expression calm but unreadable. He wore no armor, no weapon, only a simple utility jacket patched with care. The soldiers aimed their rifles instantly. Humans were rare beyond the border systems, too weak, too limited to cross deep space alone. "Lower your weapons," Kalith said firmly. Her tone carried royal command, and the soldiers obeyed without hesitation. The queen studied the man, her mind racing. "Who is he?" she asked quietly. Kalith turned to look at the man beside her. "He is the reason I am alive." Later in the grand hall, healers tended to Kalith's injuries while the queen questioned her silently. The human waited patiently, refusing treatment for his own wounds until the princess was safe. When the queen finally approached him, her voice was sharp but controlled. "You came out of the Veil Rift. That anomaly destroys everything that enters. How did you survive?" The man looked at her with tired eyes, then spoke in simple, steady words. "I didn't plan to," he said. "But when I found your daughter trapped in there, I couldn't leave her." The queen frowned. "You found her? In the rift?" "Yes," he said. "She crashed there. I don't know how long she had been surviving alone, but she never gave up. She fought for every breath. I just helped." Kalith, still weak but alert, smiled faintly. "He did more than help, Mother. He built air shelters from broken hulls. He repaired my ship using scraps. When the rift tried to swallow us again, he used his own ship's reactor to stabilize the energy waves." The queen's eyes widened. "That's impossible. Our best scientists couldn't achieve that." Ryan, for that was his name, and shrugged slightly. "It wasn't science. It was desperation. Humans are good at that. Word spread across the palace faster than any fleet could travel. The missing princess had returned. The queen's daughter was alive. But what everyone whispered most about was the human. In the mess halls, guards argued. How could a human survive the rift? Maybe he's lying. Maybe he's using her to get close to the throne. Others shook their heads. The queen wouldn't let him live if that were true. The scientists begged to see his ship, but it was gone, disintegrated during their escape. He had nothing to prove his story except the princess's trust. Calith defended him every chance she got. She told the council how he had fought off energy storms, built survival suits out of melted scrap, and shared his food even when his own rations ran out. But there were still those who doubted. A human saving royalty? Impossible. That night, the queen summoned both of them to her private chamber. The stars outside shimmered through the transparent dome. Calith stood beside Ryan, her posture proud despite her exhaustion. The queen studied them for a long time before speaking. When I lost you, Calith, she said softly, I buried a part of myself. You returning is more than a miracle, it's an impossibility. And yet here you stand, and beside you a human from a small distant world. Her gaze moved to Ryan. Tell me, human, what is it you want in return for bringing back my daughter? Ryan shook his head. Nothing. The queen frowned. Nothing. You crossed the deadliest space anomaly known to the galaxy. You risked your life, saved a princess, and you ask for nothing? He looked straight at her. I didn't do it for a reward. I did it because it was the right thing to do. The queen was silent for a long time. In her world, no one acted without reason. Not soldiers, not nobles, not even saints. But this man, this simple human, had done what her greatest captains could not. Your people, she said finally, are often spoken of as fragile, weak, bound to one small world. Ryan gave a small smile. Maybe, but we're also stubborn. We don't stop breathing just because the universe tells us to. Calith laughed softly. That's exactly what I learned from him. The queen's expression softened for the first time. Then perhaps, she said, the universe has underestimated you. As the night went on, the queen dismissed them to rest. But she didn't sleep. She watched from her balcony as Calith and Ryan walked through the gardens below, the same gardens where Calith had played as a child. The human walked a step behind, quiet, alert, always watching. His movements were simple, efficient, not the gestures of a courtier, but of someone who had lived too long in danger. Something about him unsettled her. Not in a threatening way, but in a way that reminded her of humanity's unpredictability, a species that had once looked to the stars with fragile ships and endless curiosity, now standing in her empire, defying death itself. The queen whispered to herself, Who are you, Ryan Holt? The next morning, the queen held a public gathering. The entire capital assembled in the Sky Plaza. When Calith appeared, the crowd erupted into cheers that echoed through the crystal spires. But when Ryan stepped beside her, silence fell. Billions of eyes, alien and mechanical, turned toward the lone human. Calith lifted her hand. This man saved my life, she said. He crossed the veil rift with me. He protected me when no one else could, and I owe him everything. The queen stood beside her daughter and raised her voice so that all could hear. My daughter has returned, and so has our hope. Let the galaxy remember this day, and let it remember the name of the one who defied death for her. She turned her gaze to Ryan. Ryan Holt of Earth. The crowd began to murmur, some with awe, others with disbelief. A few bowed. Most just stared. In that moment, Ryan became more than a man. He became a question, one that would echo across the stars. What are humans truly capable of? The name Ryan Holt spread through the empire faster than light. In every palace corridor, every military post, and every news stream, people whispered about the mysterious human who had walked out of the Veil Rift alive. Some called him a hero. Others called him a trick, but no one ignored his name. Inside the royal palace, Ryan felt like a shadow inside a storm. Alien eyes followed him wherever he went. The palace was made of glass stone and glowing walls, full of colors that shifted with emotion. The Zalari used light instead of words to express feelings. Ryan found it strange but beautiful. Still, he felt out of place. He had been a deep space engineer from Earth, used to cold metal, oil smells, and machines that hummed louder than his thoughts. Here, everything felt alive. Even the floors seemed to breathe. Every morning, Calith visited him. The princess had recovered quickly, though scars still marked her arms from the years lost inside the rift. She was different from the other Zalari, warmer, more curious. Maybe the years alone had changed her too. "Do you like it here?" she asked one day as they walked through the palace gardens. "It's different," Ryan said, looking at the glowing trees that pulsed like hearts. "Your world feels too clean. I keep expecting a machine to break or a pipe to leak." Calith smiled. "We don't let things break here." "That's the problem," he said quietly. "You don't learn much when nothing ever breaks." She laughed softly. "You really think like a human." Ryan gave a small smile. "We don't have much choice. The universe keeps trying to kill us, so we learn fast." That same day, Queen Sarathia held a council meeting. She wanted answers. She needed to know how her daughter survived and what threat might come from the rift. Rian and Calith were both called to attend. The council chamber was a grand dome filled with floating seats and holographic screens. The royal council, 10 alien lords with long cloaks and cold eyes, waited in a circle around them. "State your name and origin," one of them demanded. "Ryan Holt," he said simply. "Engineer, Earth Frontier Fleet." A murmur spread through the room. Humans were considered minor traders and explorers, barely reaching galactic standards. To have one standing before them as a survivor of the rift made no sense. The Queen raised her hand for silence. "Tell them, human, how did you and my daughter survive inside the rift?" Ryan took a deep breath. "The rift isn't just energy. It's alive, or something close. It eats matter, but it also reacts to thought. When I entered, my ship was torn apart in seconds. I should have died." He paused, remembering the endless storms of light and gravity twisting around him. "But then I found her ship," he continued. "She was unconscious, her systems failing. I used what was left of my reactor to create a magnetic shell around both our ships. It didn't stop the rift, but it slowed it. We drifted in that place for years, maybe longer." Calith added. "He built shelters from broken panels. He melted metal with solar heat and shaped it with his hands. When food ran out, he found ways to extract nutrients from frozen waste. I wouldn't be here if not for him." The council members exchanged looks of disbelief. One leaned forward. "Are we to believe a single human achieved what our best minds could not?" Ryan met the alien's glowing eyes without fear. "I didn't do it because I was smarter. I did it because there was no one else. Humans don't wait for permission to survive." The Queen watched him quietly. There was no arrogance in his voice, only simple truth. She had seen that same tone in soldiers who had nothing left to prove. After the meeting, one counselor, Lord Vethar, a tall alien with sharp features, approached the Queen privately. "My Queen," he said softly, "this human cannot be trusted. There is no record of his entry before the rift. For all we know, he might be a spy from the outer systems." The Queen frowned. "And yet he saved my daughter." "Or he used her," Vethar said. "Perhaps he's hiding something." Sarathia's voice turned cold. "I have ruled for 2 centuries, Lord Vethar. I can tell when someone lies. The human does not." Vethar bowed but left with anger in his eyes. The Queen sighed as he left. She knew her council feared anything they couldn't control. And right now that was exactly what Rian represented. Something new, something unpredictable. Days turned into weeks. Ryan began working with the palace engineers to help rebuild Calith's damaged shuttle. He didn't like sitting idle, and machines were his comfort zone. At first, the Zalari engineers treated him like a joke. They had sleek tools powered by quantum energy. Ryan used a simple hand welder and old human techniques. But when his repairs lasted longer and performed better than their advanced fixes, they started to pay attention. One day, as they tested the new engine design, the ship's power readings shot 40% higher than predicted. The chief engineer gasped. "What did you do?" Ryan wiped his hands. "Just rerouted your cooling systems. You were wasting half your plasma output through feedback loops." The alien blinked. "How could you see that?" "We've studied these systems for 100 years. Ryan shrugged. "Sometimes you stare at something so long you stop seeing it." Word of his success spread. Soon the Queen herself came to the hangar to watch him work. "You understand our technology?" she asked curiously. "No," Ryan said. "But machines don't care who built them. They just want to work," she smiled faintly. "You speak of them as if they are alive." Maybe they are, he said, running a hand over the metal hull. We put pieces of ourselves in everything we build. The Queen looked at him for a long moment, then said quietly, You remind me of my daughter. That evening, Calith joined Rian at the observation deck overlooking the city. The capital lights glowed beneath them like a field of stars. You're becoming famous, she teased. Half the palace is trying to figure out how a human managed to improve our ships. Ryan leaned against the glass. Fame's not my thing. I just fix what's broken. Calith tilted her head. And what about you? Are you broken, Ryan Holt? He smiled faintly but didn't answer right away. I was once. When the rift took my crew, I thought I'd die there. Then I found you. Saving you gave me a reason to stay alive. Calith looked down, her throat tight. I thought I was alone forever until you found me. They stood in silence, two survivors from different worlds, bound by the same darkness. But peace never lasts long in royal palaces. A few nights later, alarms blared across the citadel. Security drones rushed through the halls. The Queen's guards sealed the throne room. Someone had tried to poison the princess's food. The Queen was furious. Find who did this, she ordered. The investigation revealed something worse, traces of military-grade nanites inside the kitchen systems. Only someone within the Royal Defense Network could have placed them there. Rian examined the data. This isn't random, he said. Someone wants your daughter dead. Someone with access. The Queen clenched her fists. Then it seems my daughter's enemies have not forgotten her. That night, Ryan stayed near Calith's quarters, checking every door and vent. He moved like a soldier, scanning for traps, though he had never been one. Calith watched him from the doorway. You don't have to protect me, she said softly. Yes, I do, he replied. I promised you in the rift and we'd both make it home. I'm not breaking that promise now. The return of Princess Calith had shaken the Zalari Empire to its core. Every citizen, every soldier, every advisor whispered about the miracle that had come from the Veil Rift. But within the grand halls of the royal palace, shadows moved quietly, plotting. Not everyone rejoiced at the princess's return. Some saw Calith as changed, corrupted even by the rift. Her 7 years alone in the void had made her stronger, but also mysterious, and mystery was feared. Some members of the council muttered that the human at her side was dangerous, too unpredictable, too capable to be left unchecked. Queen Sarathia, though, could not ignore the bond between her daughter and this human. She had seen how Calith's eyes softened when Ryan spoke, how her voice carried trust and admiration she reserved for almost no one. Still, the Queen knew better than to dismiss whispers of betrayal. In the palace's northern wing, Ryan moved quietly. Unlike the courtiers who adorned themselves in shimmering fabrics, Ryan wore simple clothing, patched from years of survival. He didn't care for appearances or titles, only for strategy, efficiency, and protection. And right now, protection was needed more than ever. Calith had spent the morning explaining the events of the past 7 years, how she survived in the rift, how she scavenged remnants of ships and shelters to stay alive, how she met Ryan when he had stumbled through a minor tear in the anomaly, lost but determined, and how together they had fought storms, hunger, and the strange creatures that lived in the rift's outer edges. Ryan had listened quietly, offering small corrections when Calith exaggerated her daring feats. They joked once quietly about surviving on nothing but recycled water and alien roots. But the humor was fleeting. Both knew the rift had almost killed them. Now, as the sun of Zalara Prime rose across the crystalline horizon, Ryan's thoughts were elsewhere. Something about the palace felt wrong. He had faced hostile creatures, radiation storms and collapsing stars, but the air of suspicion here made his skin prickle in ways he had never experienced before. That afternoon, Calith was summoned to the council chamber. She entered with confidence, though a quiet tension followed her. Ryan trailed behind, calm but alert. The council was a semicircle of alien dignitaries, their expressions unreadable, their tentacle-like appendages twitching slightly. Princess Calith, one of them said, a man with pale blue skin and eyes like molten silver. Welcome back. We hear your journey was eventful. Calith nodded. Yes, it was. Her voice carried authority. I am here to serve the Empire, as always, the council murmured. Then the pale man leaned forward. Yet you bring him. His eyes flicked toward Ryan. A human. Why is he here? Why does he claim your protection? Calith's amber eyes flared. He protected me. He kept me alive. And without him I would not have returned. A few members gasped. A human? Guarding a princess? Impossible. One cried. Rian's voice broke the tension, calm and steady. I didn't ask to guard her. It was survival. I did what I had to do. And it seems to have worked. The council stared at him, trying to read the strange calm of a human. One of them muttered, He lies. All humans lie. Calith's voice hardened. He saved me. If you doubt him, then you doubt me. And if you doubt me, then you have no right to sit in this council. The room fell silent. For the first time, the council felt the power of a returned princess and the quiet authority of the human beside her. That night, Calith and Ryan walked through the palace gardens. The crystal flowers glimmered under Zalara's twin moons, and a soft breeze carried the scent of alien blossoms. Calith spoke first, breaking the silence. The council will never accept him. Ryan nodded. I know, but they don't have to. You do. Calith looked at him, eyes questioning. And what if they try to remove you by force? Ryan smiled faintly. Then I survive, I always do. She laughed softly. You speak as if you're invincible. But even you can't fight everything, Ryan. I don't have to. I just have to fight the right thing at the right time. Calith's smile faded. The rift taught me that even when you think there's no hope, the right choice can survive. Ryan's gaze drifted toward the palace walls. Then let's make sure that choice is protected, no matter what. Meanwhile, in the shadows of the northern halls, whispers stirred. A faction of the council led by the pale man was plotting. Calith's survival was inconvenient. It upset their carefully designed control over the Empire. And Ryan, a human who defied every expectation, was a threat they could not ignore. We cannot allow them to influence her, the pale man hissed to his companions. That human is dangerous. He is unpredictable. He might even turn her against the Empire itself. One of the others, a female with green-scaled skin, nodded. And if he dies, the princess may still be grateful, but she might be easier to manipulate. Perhaps we can arrange it. A cold silence fell. They were ruthless, but the idea of targeting someone who had survived the Veil Rift itself made them uneasy. The next day, Rian and Calith trained in the palace courtyard. Calith moved with grace, but Rian's human-style fighting was different. Efficient, practical, and fast. The palace guards watched from the sides, some impressed, some fearful. You move too fast, one said, breathless, as Ryan ducked under a swing and gently redirected Calith's energy. I had to survive 7 years in a dimension that kills without warning, Ryan said simply. Speed isn't a choice, it's a requirement. Calith nodded. I understand now. You didn't just save me. You prepared me. Ryan smiled faintly. We survived together. That's all that matters. But even as they trained, the shadows moved closer. A message arrived at the Queen's chambers. There are whispers of a plot. We must act. The Queen read the report in silence. She did not look at Ryan or Calith. Instead, she pondered the unspoken truth. The return had changed everything. Allies were uncertain. Enemies had multiplied. And the human beside her daughter might be the only one who could see the danger clearly. Late that night, Rian was awakened by a sound. Soft footsteps, careful, deliberate. He moved silently, blending with the shadows, until he found the source. A small group of council members was leaving the palace, carrying strange devices. He followed, unseen, and discovered their plan. They intended to sabotage the palace's energy grid, creating a false accident that could harm Calith and perhaps remove Ryan as a witness. Ryan returned to Calith's quarters without a sound. "There's danger," he whispered. Calith's eyes widened. "Here? Now?" "Yes. They are already moving. We need a plan, quickly." Together they mapped the palace in their minds, recalling secret passages Calith had once known as a child. They moved silently, preparing to intercept the threat before it could strike. At dawn, the first attempt was made. A small explosion rocked the eastern wing. Palace alarms blared. Guards ran, confused and panicked, but Ryan and Calith were ready. Using the secret corridors, they reached the source, catching the saboteurs in the act. The humans' reflexes, combined with Calith's knowledge of the palace, allowed them to disarm the attackers without bloodshed. Ryan used clever traps, triggering smoke vents, sealing doors, and redirecting energy beams, all techniques learned in the rift. The attackers fled, defeated and humiliated. When the Queen arrived moments later, she found Calith standing tall, Ryan at her side, the danger neutralized. "You did well," the Queen said. Her voice was calm but carried pride. "But this is only the beginning. Shadows move in every corner, and your bond, the two of you, may be the Empire's only protection." Calith nodded. "We are ready." Ryan smiled faintly. "Ready for what comes next." The Queen studied them both, feeling a mix of awe and unease. This human, this stranger, had survived impossible dangers, defied death itself, and now stood as a protector beside her daughter. For the first time, she realized, the Empire had changed, and the shadows beneath the throne would soon learn that the light of humanity combined with Calith's return was not to be underestimated. The Zalari Empire had never seen anything like it. The return of Princess Calith had already sent ripples through the halls of power, and now the presence of the human Ryan Holt was beginning to change things in ways the Council had not predicted. At first, the palace staff had been cautious. Guards kept their distance. Scientists whispered in labs about the human's strange abilities. Some doubted him. Others were quietly impressed. But no one could ignore him for long. Ryan had no desire for titles or recognition. He didn't care about politics or the Empire's reputation. He cared about one thing: keeping Calith alive and teaching her what the galaxy would not. The first demonstration came in the palace hangar. Calith watched from the balcony as Ryan examined one of the Empire's warships. It was a sleek silver vessel, designed for speed and firepower, yet fragile in ways the Zalari engineers had overlooked. Ryan ran his hands along the hull, inspecting circuits, power nodes, and shield emitters. He made notes in a small device, his brow furrowed. Calith's curiosity overcame her caution. "Ryan, what are you doing?" she asked. He looked at her and smiled faintly. "This ship can do much more than it's capable of now. It's just not designed for survival under extreme conditions." Calith tilted her head. "Extreme conditions? You mean the rift?" He nodded. "Or any place like it. A storm in space, a collision, an energy surge. These ships will fail when they're supposed to protect people. But with a few adjustments, we can make them stronger, faster, and safer." Calith blinked. "Stronger, faster? You can do that?" Ryan shrugged. "I know humans build for survival. We make things last when nothing else will. The principle is simple: efficiency, redundancy, and adaptability." Within days, Ryan transformed the hangar into a workshop. He worked silently, moving through the ships with precision. Broken panels were reforged. Shield nodes were recalibrated. Energy conduits were rerouted to maximize output while minimizing waste. The Zalari engineers watched in awe and confusion. One of them, a young scientist named Thara, approached him hesitantly. You're improving our designs," she said, voice shaking. "How?" "Our calculations, our simulations, should already be perfect." Ryan looked at her calmly. "Perfect designs are good for showing off. Survival isn't perfect. It's practical." Thara frowned. "But you're doing what we thought impossible." Ryan smiled faintly. "Sometimes the impossible is just a problem in disguise." Word of Ryan's work spread like wildfire. By the third day, rumors reached the Council. A human had altered the Empire's warships to exceed their original specifications. Faster engines, stronger shields, smarter targeting systems, all built in a week. Some council members were angry. Their pride had been challenged. "He is just a human," one said. "He has no right to change what our greatest minds have built." But even as they argued, others began to whisper about the potential. "If this human can do this with our ships, imagine what he could do with our fleet." The Queen, ever watchful, had been observing quietly. She didn't need to understand the technical details to see the truth. Ryan's methods worked. And the Empire, as rigid and proud as it was, could not ignore a man who brought results no alien could match. Calith visited the hangar one evening. Ryan was adjusting the shields on a medium-class frigate. Sparks flew from a junction, and the machine hummed with renewed power. "You really are amazing," Calith said. He looked up, smiling faintly. "I'm just trying to help. I've seen enough ships fail in space. I don't like losing people." Calith studied him. "You're not like anyone I've met. You survived the rift, saved me, and now you're changing the Empire itself." Ryan shrugged again. "Humans, we adapt. It's what we do." She laughed softly. "You make it sound so simple." "Simple?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. "It's not simple. It's survival. And survival is always complicated, but if you stay alive, you get to see the results." That night, a new threat arrived in the Empire's outer system. A rogue fleet of mercenaries, previously considered minor, had moved in to strike unguarded colonies. The Queen's advisors panicked. "Our fleets cannot respond in time," one said. Rian spoke quietly. "Give me a chance. I can make the ships ready." The Queen studied him carefully. "You mean lead our fleet?" Ryan shook his head. "I won't command. I'll prepare. Let your admirals make the decisions. I just make sure the ships survive what they're meant to face." The Queen hesitated. But the only alternative was risk. With a nod, she gave him permission. Over the next 12 hours, Ryan worked alongside the engineers and crew. He trained the pilots to adjust tactics, rerouted power for maximum efficiency, and even reprogrammed automated targeting systems. The ships, once fragile and prone to minor failures, now moved like living organisms. Calith observed silently, marveling at his focus. Even under pressure, he remained calm. His human ingenuity and simple approach and "do what works" turned the fleet from vulnerable to nearly unstoppable. When the fleet finally launched, the mercenaries were caught off guard. Every maneuver they attempted was anticipated, every attack countered. Ryan's modifications allowed ships to absorb hits that would have destroyed them before. By the time the battle ended, the mercenary fleet was forced to retreat, suffering heavy losses. Back in the palace, the council convened urgently. Some argued that Ryan had overstepped. Others admitted that his methods had saved countless lives. The Queen addressed them directly. "Do you see now?" she asked. "This human is not here to take our empire. He is here to help protect it. His knowledge and methods are unlike anything we have seen, yet they work. And we cannot ignore what works." A murmur of agreement spread across the chamber. Even the skeptics were forced to acknowledge the truth. Ryan Holt, a human from a distant and primitive world, had proven himself more capable than many of the Empire's greatest minds. Meanwhile, Calith found Ryan in the gardens late at night. The twin moons reflected in the crystal lakes, casting pale light over the palace grounds. "You've changed everything," Calith said softly. Ryan looked at her. "I didn't mean to, I just helped where I could." "You've done more than help," she said. "You've shown the Empire that humans can do what no alien could. You've made them question themselves." He shrugged. "Maybe that's what they needed," Calith smiled. "Or maybe that's what we needed." They walked in silence for a moment, watching the stars. Then Calith asked quietly, "Do you think they will ever accept you?" Ryan shook his head slightly. "Some may, some won't, doesn't matter. I don't need acceptance. I need survival, and to make sure you survive." Calith nodded, understanding the weight behind his words. In that moment, she realized that this human, simple, stubborn, unyielding, had become more than a protector. He was a force the Empire could not ignore. The next morning, the Queen summoned Ryan to the throne room. She spoke with measured authority. "You have proven yourself," she said, "not only to me but to the Empire. Your methods, your ingenuity, and your courage have saved lives, and perhaps the Empire itself. But know this, your presence changes everything. Some will admire you. Others will fear you, and some will plot against you. Rian nodded. I understand. I've faced worse than politics before. The Queen studied him, her eyes sharp. Indeed. And that may be why you are needed more than anyone else in this empire. Humans are different. You survive where others fail, and that difference may save us all. He bowed slightly. Then I will do what I can. Kalith watched them both. In that moment, she understood the truth fully. The Empire's survival no longer rested on armies or technology alone. It rested on the human who refused to give up, the princess who returned from the impossible, and the bond they shared. The human factor had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The Zalari Empire had never been more tense. Rumors of betrayal, whispered plots, and restless nobles filled the palace halls. The return of Princess Kalith and the presence of the human Ryan Holt had shaken the very foundations of the empire. Some celebrated, some feared, and others plotted. Yet in the quiet of her chambers, Queen Sarathia remained calm. She had watched her daughter grow stronger in ways no human or Zalari had predicted. She had watched Rian quietly alter the empire's defenses, save her daughter's life, and gain the respect and fear of the people. Tonight, she knew a decision had to be made, far beyond the palace. In the outer systems, a rogue fleet of mercenaries gathered. These were the same attackers who had once been defeated by Ryan's quick thinking and modifications to the fleet. Now they had regrouped, stronger and hungrier for revenge. Their plan: strike the capital while the council's attention was divided and reclaim control over border systems. Rian studied the incoming reports with Kalith at his side. They were in the palace's war room, the walls glowing with tactical maps and star charts. They're coming faster than expected, Kalith said, her amber eyes scanning the projections. Ryan nodded. They think we're unprepared, but they underestimate the Empire. And human ingenuity. Kalith raised an eyebrow. Your ingenuity? Ryan smiled faintly. And yours. Together we're better than they think. Kalith's gaze softened. She had seen what he was capable of. Not just surviving impossible odds, but thinking ahead, planning and adapting in ways no one else could. He had become more than a protector. He was a strategist, a teacher, and a reminder that humans could endure where others failed. In the council chamber, whispers turned to open debate. Some of the older members demanded immediate mobilization of the fleet. Others argued that the threat was exaggerated, and some, quietly, pointed to Ryan as a wild card whose presence made decisions more difficult. The Queen entered without announcement, silencing the room. All eyes fell upon her, and for the first time in months the council felt the weight of her authority. Enough, she said firmly. The Empire faces a threat, yes. But more importantly, the Empire now has a choice. It can rely only on tradition, or it can accept what stands before us, what has proven itself. She paused, eyes sweeping over the council members, finally resting on Ryan. This human, Ryan Holt, has shown courage, intelligence, and loyalty beyond what we have ever seen. He has no claim to the throne, no desire for power. Yet he has saved our princess, strengthened our fleet, and earned the respect of our people. The room murmured. Some members scoffed. Others nodded reluctantly. I will not allow prejudice to endanger the Empire, the Queen continued. The decision is mine, and it is this. Ryan Holt will remain at my daughter's side. He will advise, protect, and continue to strengthen the Empire as he sees fit. All who oppose this will answer to me. Kalith stepped forward. Her voice was steady, filled with pride. Mother, this is the man who saved me, the man who taught me that humans can survive what even the strongest Zalari cannot. He deserves our trust and not suspicion. Ryan inclined his head slightly, but he said nothing. Words had never been necessary between him and Kalith. His actions spoke louder than any speech ever could. The Queen nodded, satisfied. Then it is settled. The next hours were a whirlwind. The rogue fleet was detected approaching Zalara Prime's orbit. The Empire's defenses were ready, but this time, Ryan took a more active role. He coordinated fleet movements, optimized shield distributions, and suggested unconventional tactics inspired by human strategies. Kalith stood at the command center beside him, her voice confident as she relayed orders. Together, human and princess directed the Empire's forces in a way no single leader could. When the enemy fleet arrived, the battle began. Energy beams streaked across the sky. Ships collided with precision, explosions lighting up the horizon. But thanks to Rian's modifications, the Empire's fleet endured hits that would have crippled them before. Kalith maneuvered her flagship with skill born of experience and lessons learned in the rift. Ryan watched quietly, offering advice in small, precise doses, nudging decisions without overt control. The battle reached its climax when the rogue fleet's flagship attempted to target the palace itself. Kalith and Ryan coordinated an ambush. Using a combination of alien technology and human improvisation, they forced the enemy into a trap. Magnetic fields, energy pulses, and shielded decoys worked in perfect harmony. The flagship was captured, its crew surrendered. The rogue fleet, seeing their leader taken, scattered into the void. Victory belonged to the Zalari Empire. Back in the palace, the aftermath was tense but triumphant. The council could no longer deny Rian's impact. His presence had changed the course of the Empire's survival. The Queen summoned Ryan to the throne room once more. The room was quiet, the crystal chandeliers casting pale light over the victorious leaders. "You have done more than any counselor, any general, or any fleet commander," she said. Her voice was calm but filled with gravity. "You have saved my daughter, strengthened the Empire, and shown us that strength comes in many forms." Ryan inclined his head. "I only did what I could. That's all humans can do, and survive and help where possible." The Queen smiled faintly. "Your humility is rare, and yet your deeds cannot be ignored. You have earned the trust of the Empire." Kalith stepped forward, her amber eyes bright. "Mother, the Empire has a new path now. With Ryan, humans, and our combined strength, we can survive what the galaxy throws at us." The Queen studied them both, realizing something profound. Humanity was not simply a minor species in the galaxy. They were capable, resilient, and, when allied with Zalari courage and strategy, unstoppable. "I see that now," she said finally. "Ryan Holt, the Empire thanks you. And my daughter has returned because of you. You will remain at her side as protector, advisor, and friend. The Empire will honor you not as a human outsider, but as a part of our future." Ryan nodded silently. Words had never been necessary. His actions had spoken louder than any title could. The people of the Empire celebrated. News spread across the stars. The princess had returned. The human beside her had changed everything. Even distant systems, previously indifferent or skeptical, now spoke of Earthlings with awe and curiosity. In the quiet of her chambers later, Kalith and Ryan stood together, looking out at the crystal city below. The moons reflected their light on the palace spires, creating patterns that seemed to dance with hope. "You've done more than survive, Ryan," Kalith said softly. "You've given the Empire a future." Ryan shook his head. "No, you gave it the future. I just helped." She smiled, understanding. "Perhaps. But the future will always remember you." Rian glanced at her. "I don't need to be remembered. I just need to make sure we survive, and that's enough." The two of them stood together, silent but united. The Empire had faced impossible odds before, but never like this. Guided by a human who refused to give up, and a princess who had returned from the impossible. Queen Sarathia watched from her balcony. She had lost Kalith once, and now, seeing her daughter alive, strong, and wise, she realized something important. The galaxy had changed, and so had the Empire. Humans, she thought, were no longer minor players. They were clever, resilient, and unyielding. They brought something that no alien could match: hope, courage, and the stubborn refusal to give up. And in the human standing beside her daughter, the Queen saw the future of the Empire itself. The galaxy might have been vast, dangerous, and full of shadows, but with Kalith alive and Rian at her side, the Zalari Empire had a light that could not be extinguished. In that moment, Queen Sarathia knew the truth. Humanity had arrived not just as a species, but as a force that could change the stars. The Empire was safe, for now. But more importantly, it had hope.